All right, people, we are back with our final part of today's episode.
And we are going to talk over the music. The song is called Turbulence. And there's a reason this is on, because we have to mostly navigate our lives through turbulence.
Definitely.
And
So you're
do you think we could do that on a flight without our beloved flight attendants taking care of us? Without our
yes.
pilots, without everybody who is running this flight for us, would you think we would manage this without all of them coordinating so beautifully to keep us safe? Well, here you go. Reason number one for playing Turbulence, and what this means in the context of healing.
Absolutely.
Listen to these words. Yes, Roger. Tell us those
Yeah.
lyrics.
It says there's a turbulence. There
Loudly,
is
loudly, loudly.
loudly. All right.
Yes. You have to
Says
talk
there's a
over the song.
turbulence. There is a fight, and it's reaching the height where the thunder strikes the cloud to push down the rain. There is evil and then there is light, uh, preaching all that is right and all that is wrong and all that you gain.
You're
I'm
sounding like
forgetting the
Pink
lyrics now.
Floyd. All that you
And
touch and all that you see. All that you what? Uh,
uh,
hate and all that you something fight and everyone you fight.
yes, yes, yes.
Forgetting, mixing your
Um,
Pink Floyd.
brain damage that
That is eclipse,
from
no? And it ends with the sun
eclipse.
is eclipsed by the moon.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
always
yes.
confused which one eclipses which one. Does it even
It's
make a difference?
dark side of the moon. Yes,
Yes, yes.
it's,
We've all been on that dark side.
yes,
And I
we
think
have.
Turbulence, you see, he just gave you the what's the chorus? Just tell us the chorus. Rejoice.
Rejoice, for the monster is gone. Rejoice till the end of this song. Rejoice when you're supposed to cry, for the bringer of life is now supposed to die.
Wow. The bringer of life doesn't die though when you're on a flight. That's a very, 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 as the
That
flight
would be a scary
attendant would
situation.
say, in the highly unlikely event of a water landing. And even there you have that life jacket. Though God alone knows, they tell you ad nauseum how to put it on. But when you finally land in the water, I doubt if you will know what to do other than to drown or to swim or to have a panic attack. I must
Exactly.
say,
I
these
mean,
people are remarkable to risk this thing day in and day out. You think
every
in
day.
this how fragile our universe is, that so much can go wrong and how little actually goes wrong. What are we then complaining about? We are winning. Overall, we are winning.
Exactly. Exactly.
Overall, we are winning. I mean, how often do you think about what actually goes into getting that flight going for you?
Yeah,
All,
exactly. You do
all
not
you
think
see
about that
is
anymore.
these people dressed to the teeth at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And I wonder if you know what it takes, Roger and Chakra, to get this going for you. It's taken a lot for us to come to this point, and I have to say that it's taken the support of those of you who are really watching this with great interest, loving it, commenting it, commenting on it, sharing it, and cheering us on. It is really because of all of you that we want to get up in the morning on Sunday and do this.
Absolutely. That's
Because
true.
Roger would just want to turn over and sleep after a night shift. And for me, day, night, Sunday, Monday, it's all the same. But then, these old bones would also prefer to sleep till 7 o'clock instead of getting ready at 5. And believe me, I'm ready at quarter to 6. Absolutely geared up, everything checked, tested, keeping my fingers crossed for the internet, for the broadband, having my backup internet in place, everything so that this goes through without a glitch. Because we are so full of everything we want to say and share with you. We This
Absolutely.
builds up, this builds up into a very rich brew in the course of the week. We discuss this among ourselves. We talk to others during the week. There's a lot of creative work we do during the week, and we take this every show. We hope we are taking this up a notch,
I hope
improving
so
in
as well.
some way, making it more interesting for you, making it appeal to a more diverse audience, at the same time continuing to go into deeper and deeper waters, because this is important. When you go
Absolutely.
scuba diving, you don't do it on your own, do you?
You never do that on your own.
That's thrill, that's fear, that's entertainment, that's education, that's a whole lot of things. It's all part of the package. If you look at any one of the offerings from us, and the grand announcement that you are all waiting for is that I am launching courses,
Yes, please,
actual
please tell us about the
courses.
courses. Yes.
Courses, yes, there will be. I haven't decided on the number of sessions, but it will be a progression in your journey, which is where I participate with you in this journey. And it's
Right.
not it goes beyond a one time one on one session, but it is about a commitment and an investment from both sides to reach somewhere in this, to be somewhere different from where you started.
Exactly.
And I believe it will leave both of us in a different place. And hence, I've taken the risk to put this up, and it will be coming up pretty soon. So this is just the teaser for it. I mean, I'm just giving you a little taste of what is coming, so you can gear up for this. But meanwhile, back to what
Right.
Roger has to say, because Roger is full of questions today. And Roger, please be loud, because number 16 is banging and throwing steel beams around. So you have to outshout that noise.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. So,
Louder,
since the
even louder.
name even louder, is it
Yeah, yeah,
is it
yeah.
all
That is
right?
great. That is great. Yes.
Okay. So, since the name of this channel goes Spirit Spiral Healing,
Hmm.
let me ask you something. What's healing to you? I mean, we are healing from what exactly? Because in one of our, um, not in one of our sessions, in a lot of your interactions with the with people around the globe, you have mentioned this statement that never not healing. So that implies that healing is a continuous process that keeps on happening. And yet again, we are talking about alienation. If I take into consideration that we are healing from alienation, then again, in our previous discussion, in our previous day's discussion rather, we talked about how sometimes alienation facilitates creativity. It gives birth to, or rather it doesn't give birth to, rather it forces you to access that creative part of your mind as a coping mechanism probably. So what exactly are we healing from? And I mean, yeah, if you could elaborate there.
Okay. Now, you spoke about alienation, right? In this
Yes.
context. If you take alienation as disconnection, two parts that should
Okay.
be joined go apart.
Right.
Two
Okay.
people who should be together, who should be understanding each other and communicating with each other, suddenly lose the ability to communicate. So there's a gap.
Okay.
And
Okay.
essentially, you can't connect if you don't disconnect. Because if you are permanently connected, then it happened to me the other day. I was staying connected. My computer was working 24/7 and never being turned off. And it came to a point where it said, I need a disconnect. So my
And
power
the
supply, in its goodness and mercy, blew its fuse. That was the kindest form of
I
disconnection rather than a disk crashing or something like that happening. But then it was a wake up call. So that alienation actually is your friend. It warns you that there could be other things coming apart. So look
right.
into them. So what happens? 10:30 at night, our friend decides to blow its fuse, leaving me in deep, deep frustration, anger, all those. After I've done with navigating those emotions for 3-4 minutes, I ask myself, what's it that bothered me most about this? And my answer is disconnection, alienation. I was in that world and suddenly I'm not in that world. I was with 5-6 people having a conversation with them. I was reading something, I was writing something, and I had some music also playing. And I had also some
Right.
beautiful pictures on display. So I was in an entire ecosystem. And suddenly I'm disconnected from that ecosystem. But when one
Right.
part disconnects, one part is sort of thrown out by another part disconnecting. Basically, the power supply blew the fuse. What is blowing the fuse? It's disrupting the connection. And by blowing that fuse, many other connections were disrupted. Everything stopped working. My operating system unceremoniously stopped without doing its housekeeping. So it remembered that next time I got back there. Just as your therapist remembers where you were the last time you came to her half broken. And she continues from that point. Though
Exactly.
God knows how they do it, but now you're going to see me in action on that when I do a full course. And this course,
Absolutely.
I
I would
must
love
warn
to.
you, is not about therapy. So we come back to my idea of healing. There are gaps,
Exactly.
empty spaces. Those spaces are empty. When the disconnection occurs, it is initially a vacuum. Nature abhors the vacuum, as you all know. So that vacuum could fill up with demons, or it could fill up with creative forces. Very often, when that alienation occurs, destructive forces come in.
That's a
Equally,
very
creative
normal
forces
thing.
could come in.
Yes.
Most often, destructive forces find their way in because they are, dark forces. Darkness is dense. So darkness descends and sinks and settles and clings. Light is the opposite. So it becomes important. You see, the first thing that usually fills into that gap is darkness. That's the first thing that filled into my gap when I was disconnected from my computer. It was all my negative thoughts, frustration, anger, annoyance, what the hell, and what my therapist had once alerted me to, catastrophizing. And what a friend had once told me, you panic under pressure. These words came back to me after 35 years the other day. You panic under pressure. My mother had said the same thing to me. And I had said, no, I panic for the first 5 minutes. After that, the forces of light come in. They say it's darkest before the dawn, right?
Exactly.
That's
It is.
provided it doesn't all end before the dawn. That's where healing, the healer comes in. The
Right.
healer
Right.
holds that little faint glimmer of light. Before the darkness, the dense darkness has a complete victory. Before there is annihilation, the light comes in and says, wake up. This is your connector. So my light came in the form of my own loud voice when I picked up the phone, called up my techie and said, I'm in a major emergency. Like, I sounded as if I'd broken my head or something. Because breaking this, let me tell you, we are all now part of this ecosystem. There's no way this has become our Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like,
Exactly.
but you can never
But you
leave,
can
and
never
that's
leave.
it, and when you leave, probably you will also not leave. I don't think there is any annihilation or any end. You will transfer yourself into some other realm, and that is it. So there is no end.
Exactly.
So for those who talk about ending it all, that's not a solution. And for such people who either want to end the current thing or want to end it all or feel on the verge of despair, which I can tell you that ever so often I feel that way myself. No hesitation in saying that I'm 65 going on 66, but I still feel that way. This happens to all of us. Where there is a disconnection, a dense force will descend. For those of us, I think all of us all over the world are now familiar with power outage. What we in Calcutta would call load shedding. The load
Yes.
would shed itself when the load got unbearable. That was actually what happened, because power cuts
Exactly.
never followed a timetable, let me tell you. When the load was too much, it was dropped. Boom.
Yes.
Regardless of who it crushed, who it hurt, who it killed. So can we, in that case, look out for voltage fluctuations also? And and have a gentle, like if I see my power supply is floundering, my power supply actually gave me a warning. It turned off the monitor because monitors are power hungry. I didn't heed the warning. In frustration, I went and reset the machine. Because this is the way we all are. So in our hurry and in our frustration, we could easily destroy. I might have saved that power supply if I hadn't done that. I could have waited for an hour or two, allowed it to cool down and then gone back to it, knocked the little bits of dust out of it and gone back to it. But
Exactly.
no, this Maharani was in a great hurry to continue with her trend of thought, whatever it was she was doing. She was actually listening. She was actually deeply engrossed in a healing video at that point. Because I listen to a lot of people who have their own perspectives on healing, and they all come on YouTube or they have podcasts or I read their blogs, and all this I think makes a lot of difference. You have to know what others all around you are doing, because we are all interconnected. So
Exactly.
okay, and I also work I put in a number of hours a day. I do all my housework myself, and I was at that point of exhaustion, and I am weaning from my medicines, which thanks to all the support from everyone and the fact that I'm not pushing myself, I have been able to now stay away for nearly 3 months. So There are problems, but those problems are very minimal, and I'm hoping with small tweaks, that is shifts, the same pattern shifting I talk about. One doesn't have to go
Yes.
into total darkness.
Absolutely.
So it is
Absolutely.
exactly that. With a little patience that day, I could have got this up. Instead, I
Yes.
catastrophized. I said, this damn computer, it has gone and crashed. In the first 2 minutes, I said that. In the next 2 minutes, I said, what the hell? Where am I going to go for the money? To be very honest, that's the biggest thing, biggest stress point in my life right now. And it could be for many others, but very likely those many others don't have much of a clue that it is for me. So I'm being pretty honest in saying, yes, it is. I do have to work for my living, and I have to work for more than my living right now. So that's the
Absolutely.
first stress point that comes, and that's enough to make anyone panic. So when this everything, what my therapist called catastrophizing, I've already done my overthinking and jumped 10 steps ahead.
Yes. Yes.
And that's also because I'm a person who has a lot of foresight and a bit of intuition. So I tend to tune in to some possible negative influence in the neighborhood. The neighborhood, I don't mean I don't mean my beloved neighbors here in the adjacent buildings. I mean to say, there is a certain aura around you, and you sense these forces there.
Exactly. Definitely.
The
Yes.
environment,
Yes.
nature.
Yes.
So I had to stop this process of catastrophizing and say, stop this overthinking. Now think about this step. What is step one? Step one is to call your techie, hoping he hasn't vanished somewhere out of the state. Step one covered. Techie takes the call. I threaten the techie with all sorts of dire things if he doesn't arrive tomorrow with the power supply. I said, you drop everything you're doing and you come here with the power supply. You jolly well do it. Because I knew it was the power supply. I mean, that's your
My God
first
bless
line
that
of
techie.
defense, right? The fuse is your first
Yes.
line of defense. And
Yes.
I don't think there's any way to mend a fuse in a computer's power supply. I mean, if you blow the fuse in your house, it seems simple enough. But then you're going to blow the fuse again because something in your house, something in your setup is causing that fuse to blow.
Exactly.
So you have to figure out
Yes.
what it was that caused it to blow. Well, anyway, he came
Right.
in and he said, look, this guy is already 2 years old. And I said, look, I have a guilty confession. It often runs 24 hours a day without a break, which means at times my computer runs for 15 days without being switched off. No kidding. No kidding. So if I have literally, this is, had this been a child, I would be booked for battery and abuse. But this is not a child. I treat my child the way I treat my computer. I would never treat my child like that because I don't use my children. But you know that very well, Roger.
Yes.
Sometimes my children batter and bruise me, but that's all in the game. I mean, a little baby growing inside the mother kicks her. And my mother has told me that that's the most beautiful kick she was ever dealt. And she has played rough games in her teens, so she knows about various kinds of kicks.
Various kinds of kicks. Yes.
She said that's the most beautiful kick. And she said after I came out as a little infant, I would have my
Mhm.
milk. She would be nursing me, and all the while I would be rhythmically kicking her stomach while I had my milk. I would gurgle, have my milk, and keep kicking her stomach rhythmically. And I was thinking, wow. My mother said I kicked her stomach rhythmically when I was 1 year old, and later that same mother had the cheek to tell me I don't have a sense of rhythm. My mother was always contradicting herself in her bid to make me perfect. That doesn't happen. Anyway, this poor hapless
Yes.
power supply, what had happened to it was it had been abused. And it cried out finally. It packed up under abuse.
Absolutely.
So this is a
Yes.
note for all you guys. Don't abuse these gadgets.
This is also a really nice metaphor. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a real incident that happened with
It's a
you.
real
But
incident.
then again, yeah, I know it's a real incident. I mean, you texted me the day it happened.
Hmm.
I remember.
Hmm.
But then again, it also, clarifies the way the healing works. I mean, you said that when the um voltage was fluctuating,
Hmm.
that's the warning.
Hmm.
And
I should
when
have
the final
when it was kind enough to shut itself off, I should have kept quiet, right?
exactly.
Instead of
And
pushing it. I pushed it
yes,
and it broke.
and that's what we tend to do with our emotions, I think.
We tend to
That
do this to ourselves, and here comes your best
yes,
healing metaphor by example.
exactly. Exactly. We tend to do this to ourselves. And eventually, probably, we shut down.
Hmm.
And that's the, I mean, physically, probably you're gonna be
I
thriving,
had
but then again,
one bona fide nervous breakdown in 1997. I know the physical symptoms of it. They're terrifying.
exactly.
They're terrifying,
Exactly.
absolutely terrifying. I couldn't move. My mother, my tiny little 5 foot nothing mother, had to lift this monster up physically because this monster wouldn't move. I drank
See,
10 liters of water in one night
see, this is what
because every
happens.
time I stopped drinking water, I thought I was losing consciousness.
My goodness. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
have
could only
some
imagine.
utterly bizarre symptoms which I won't talk about now, and I don't ever want anyone to have those symptoms. But then those symptoms start feeling like death. They start feeling like near death. You think you are dying. The first thing I screamed was, "Take me to the ICU." And my mother called down my neighbor, and I could hear my neighbor. My neighbor was very kind. I mean, I was just lying there, literally like a zombie, and saying, "Take me to the ICU, take me to the ICU." And I could remember the number of the ICU. I was blacking out, coming back again, and saying, dial this number to my mother. Only landlines then. And my mother was dialing various numbers trying to get a doctor. I had all the numbers mugged up. And I was reeling them off perfectly. And he said, "She's reeling off numbers perfectly. There's nothing wrong with her brain." And I could hear him. I could hear him saying that. And I said, "You don't understand." I screamed at him. And then I heard him ask my mother, something. He said, Do you think something has frightened her, auntie? Something has frightened her. So you see, he was in his wisdom was able to understand I had had a panic attack. And let me tell you, a panic attack is worse than death. I mean,
It's
I
very bad.
thank you. I
It's
mean,
very bad.
pardon me, like, thank you, God. I still don't know what death is, but I must have known what my last death was. So maybe we carry that memory. I increasingly believe in these transitions from one lifetime to another. So maybe we actually what happens is that actually there is a recall. And let me tell you, coming out of your mother's womb is also death. One part of
It
you
kind of
dies,
is.
one avatar of you dies for another one to be born. It's literally
Exactly.
your Matsya avatar, because you're an aquatic creature till you come out.
Exactly.
And then,
Yes.
so when you go back into your scuba diving and you're taking oxygen from another source, it's almost like you're going back into the amniotic fluid and you can't breathe on your own. It's a little bit like
Exactly.
that. You are, breathing because you're connected. You're getting what you need because of your mother, because you're there inside that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And coming out for you is equally a trauma.
Yes.
So
Probably we do not
that
remember
if
that
there is
trauma,
no
but then
other death,
again,
if there's no other death we have been through, even if we believe just in one life, that's one death nobody can deny. Just like, you know, your
that's true.
caterpillar, your chrysalis, the pupa, the larva, the pupa, and then the insect that
Yes.
flies. From one phase
Yes.
to another is a form of death. The larva is very
Absolutely.
active, then it goes to sleep as the pupa. So that's death, the stillness of death. When the
Yes.
butterfly comes out tearing that cocoon open, that is the violent death throw of one form to birth another form.
Absolutely.
So you see, you
So,
don't need to believe in all this past life, future life, and all that to understand death. And this never not healing is maybe because of all those deaths we go through in the course of a day. Our cells die. I keep telling people that cells die, new cells are born.
exactly.
We don't,
Exactly.
we have all different, you know, we have different cells with the same imprint that are just
Precisely.
reiterated over and over. And do you think we have those cells which we were born with? I mean, what is never not healing then?
Exactly.
As
Yes.
long as you
We
are
keep on
alive, you are healing.
evolving.
As long as you are alive, you are healing. And when you lose
Yes.
touch with your aliveness, it's a call that you need intervention to heal. So
Exactly.
somewhere when you lose
Yes.
touch with that aliveness, you stagnate. That healing process ends in you.
Yes.
Something ends
Being
in you.
stagnant and stopping the course of evolution. Yes.
Yes, yes. So this is why the
Right.
intervention is needed. And this is why when we feel low, we do consult someone. We
Absolutely. Absolutely.
either we consult another part of ourselves where we have our inner resources, like I did that night. I said, okay, you, the voice that keeps screaming that, you know, this is a disaster, shut that voice down. But use that voice to your advantage, you know, to do a little drama to your techie. So I'm like, I'm right in the middle of a conference and this goes and happens. What the hell, you know, I scream at him. So he says, yes, yes, I'll be right there with you tomorrow. So tomorrow he arrives. I mean, the next day he arrives.
The next day, yeah.
He arrives and he takes out the power supply and he says, just look at this, look at this. It's got some kind of a paste over there on the contacts. And I said, there you are, look at number 16. They run that concrete mixer with the diesel, various chemicals in the concrete, and that vapor goes out. And that vapor gets sucked in by this power supply. This computer sucks it in. He showed it to me. He showed that paste to me. You could paint with it.
My goodness.
So in the presence of a powerful catalyst like that paste and so many hours of abuse, what do you expect a 2-year-old power supply to do? But 2 years is a hell of a long time in the life of a computer, I can tell
In
you.
the life of a computer, yes,
Yes.
it certainly
It's a
is.
long time. So like when my modem bust up, and my modem bust up quite unnecessarily. My modem bust up because of a problem of the lightning strike that my neighbor had. That time the modem didn't bust up, the adapter bust up. So you see, you
Okay,
always
okay.
have a first line of defense. Always,
Definitely.
always you have a first line of defense. So always place
Definitely.
something between you and that bust up. Have a support system.
Exactly.
That's exactly why we have fuses. So one more aspect of healing, use me as
Yes.
your fuse. I will defuse the tension inside you. Healing?
That's such a sweet way to put it.
Yes, isn't it? Isn't it? That's
Yes.
what is meant by somebody saying she will be there as your gentle guide. That's all it means. The whole
Definitely is.
system, a system that's not protected by a fuse, or say a system that's not protected by a stabilizer, or doesn't have a built-in stabilizer. There are two ways of doing this. You could have an external resource, or you could have that fail-safe mechanism inside you. There are different ways of doing it. Today I've evolved to the point of having most of my mechanisms inside me, but I'm not a
Exactly.
hardware engineer, nor do I have much of the N2 to go to Chandni and pick up a power supply. So naturally, a part of my support system is outsourced somewhere.
Yes.
I can't heal this setup without Dharminder, my techie. So Dharminder Jai Ho. Every time I say this, I never forget this, that I have such a good guy who's been with me now for 11 years. And that's a
That's
record.
really nice.
That's a record for any such guy. And now, we have 3 minutes left on Zoom. So have I answered all your questions? Are we going to call
You
it?
definitely have.
I've answered
Yeah, we
all
are
your
gonna.
questions. Do you have
You
something to
have.
say on healing? You have 1 minute to say.
No, I think you have answered the question, and with a very real life experience, you have answered it. Which your real life experience worked as a metaphor for
Hmm.
the entire answer that I needed, and it's very clear.
Hmm.
And yes, I think this example, this real life example, is gonna be very clear to our audience, as
Hmm.
in what they should expect when they approach you
Hmm.
um, as their techie, you know,
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
their
Hmm. Hmm.
so yeah, uh, and that's something that I really wanted to know, and I think we have the answer. And I really do look forward to people watching our shows, and people who are in need. Chakra is there. If you want to reach out to her, you can reach out to me as well. I can
Absolutely.
redirect
Absolutely. We are
redirect
in
you
this
to her.
together. Let me tell you.
And
Roger is
yes,
the best thing that came into the life of spirit spiral healing. And we are going to keep this Roger and Chakra show going for you. So
absolutely,
here's to that. Now I think it is actually time for Sunday breakfast.
absolutely.
I shall
And
have
we wish you
scrambled
all a
eggs.
very good Sunday breakfast.
Yes, most of you may have had your Sunday breakfast, or many of you may not have got up. But anyway, cheers and bye for now. And we will have a guest in our next show.
Absolutely.
So gear up for
Chalo.
that. There are going to be three of us. A very
Yes.
special guest, an alien. Cheers. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a really nice day.